Kate here for the next in my Game Changer book series, and this is Great Expectations by Charles Dickens, and I can use my handy dandy new Knickerbocker classics that I have. So in case you don't know what Great Expectations is about, this is about Pip and his life story, basically, or his coming of age story, how he becomes a man. And Pip is raised by his sister named Jo, who is married to a man also named Joe, and his sister is really rough around the edges and doesn't really dote out affection or anything like that, but she is still a good woman. And his brother-in-law, on the other hand, though, is much more of a, tender-hearted type man, and he's just very sweet and kind to Pip. And when Pip is a child, he is sent to go spend some time with the Havisham family. There is Lady Havisham, who is one of the most interesting characters, I think, in all of literature. And she is a woman who was jilted at the altar when she was very young, and has stayed all of this time in her wedding dress, has never left it, and has kept the house, like the wedding feast, everything is still sitting on the table and just covered in dust, and is just such a vivid picture of the destruction and decay that's in her life. And in the recent past, though, she has adopted Estella, who is around Pip's age, and basically right as soon as he meets Estella, he falls really hopelessly and head over heels in love with Estella. And Estella is kind of Miss Havisham's project. I called her Lady Havisham earlier. I don't know why I did that. She's just Miss Havisham. Anyhow, Estella has become her project, and she wants to raise her. She's very beautiful, and she also wants to raise her to kind of destroy men the way a man destroyed Miss Havisham. So she is raising her up in that way, but she wants Pip to spend some time with him, just to visit, and also to kind of have Estella interact with a boy and tell her what to do. And it's a series of very odd, weird meetings, and just a really unique place. Like I said, the house is just in decay, and it's just so utterly unique, the place that they live. So then a few years pass, and Pip has a benefactor and is given income to go and kind of figure out what he wants to do with his life and pick up a trade. And so he travels to London with his money, and he tries to make his way in the world. And he also, in this time though, he becomes somewhat of a snob and kind of too big for his britches. It can be very, very frustrating, and there's one especially painful scene when his sort of father figure, the brother-in-law Joe, comes to meet him, and he just really is terrible. It's an extremely painful scene. He's just really snobby to him. And in this time also, Pip has his own notions about who his benefactor is and what it means to be wealthy, and kind of what wealth does to you, and kind of these different layers of society, and who should be where, and just that money makes you better than others. And it's just really interesting, kind of these subtle views you can see that he's gaining in this time. And then I don't want to give any spoilers, so it's just really about him growing up. And he is really, by the end of the book, he's extremely humbled, and I think this is one of the best examples of a character growing and changing. And you see Pip really through his time, he really learns what the world is like, being out there with different people, and kind of really gets a picture of, just of what the world is like, and what people are like, and what it means to be humble, and what it means to grow and to change. And then another thing about this book that just made it so special to me, this is, I think, the first classic that I had read where the plot was so deliberate and so neatly tied up, so planned out and plotted. And it's like Charles Dickens, I mean, I imagine he knew what was going to happen from the beginning of writing this, but this was such a mind blow at the end. I was so happy that I actually had watched the miniseries in high school before I read this, but I couldn't remember the miniseries, and I couldn't remember the ending, and I'm so glad I didn't, because I had no idea who the benefactor was, and I had no idea what was going to happen in the end. and it was just such a mind blow. And it was so, just to admire Charles Dickens' use of plot and kind of what he wanted to happen with this and what he wanted to happen with his characters. And yeah, there are just lots of cool characters in this, and like I said, I just think Pip's growth in this is really special and really unique to a lot of novels. It makes it stand out and made me want to read lots more books where characters really grow and change, and lots more books where the plot is just as well crafted as this. You get to the end and you just can't believe how you've gotten from point A to point B. And this is one that I'm really excited to reread in the future, to kind of go back and see maybe hints at what's going to happen in the future. And it was just such a wild ride, and I'm so happy that I read this book, and like I said, I will be rereading it. So I know Great Expectations is kind of hit or miss with people, but me personally, I love how romantic it is. And just for future reference, like when I say romantic on my channel, I don't mean like chocolates and roses. I mean like the very traditional sense of the word romantic, and that it's intense and intense emotions and intense settings and kind of dark. And I really love that about it, and I think it makes it all the more gripping. So I hope maybe I've talked one person into reading Great Expectations. I hope you guys have enjoyed this video, and I love this book so much. I just think it's wonderful. It is my favorite Charles Dickens to date, so I'm hoping maybe it will be topped. We shall see. Anyhow, I will see you guys for another video soon, and I hope you're having a lovely day.